Hello, welcome everyone. It's to Lato Files. I'm Chris Lato, retired F-16 pilot. It's been just a crazy week, the most insane week that I've seen, at least since I've been covering UAPs over the last 2 years. So we had several shoot downs. This is planned to be a Q&A live. There it goes. So here to answer any of your questions. I've gotten tons of questions, and I figured the best way to get the content out there and also be out of pocket. I'm actually going on spring break. It's kids' spring break next week. So I want to just spend as much time as possible this Friday night with you guys, answer as many questions as possible. So let's go over just quickly what happened. Happy Friday night to everybody. Welcome. Please hit that like button. All right, so as you should know by now, we had the February 4th shoot down of the Chinese balloon, and that basically sparked kind of a shooting spree that went all the way up to, and sorry about that, guys, not showing you. There we go. Okay, live TV. All right, so we had, as you guys see now, 4 Feb, we had the balloon shoot down up the coast of Myrtle Beach. I was actually talking to Martin Willis. He happened to be there, Martin Willis, and filmed it with his own camera, his own iPhone camera. He got great photos. It looked just like the photos you saw online. So basically, he said it was really easy to see. He said you could just see it clearly with your eyes and saw the whole thing happen. So pretty exciting. So that was basically off Myrtle Beach here. And that was 4 February. That kind of sparked this shooting spree that then went up into Alaska. And I'm actually wearing, I'll show you this shirt. Basically, this is a aggressor shirt. So the 18th aggressor is kind of afraid to turn around. You see there with the Arctic jets. So that's in this. That's at Eielson Air Force Base here. The 18th, I basically helped them stand up this aggressor squadron. You basically train the good guys. So we were experts on enemy systems. That's what the aggressors do, right? That's why it's a star. Actually, I have trouble wearing this shirt around because I just get a lot of comments about it. So anyway, so this is Eielson Air Force Base, and we stood up this squadron back in 2007. That's when I was in Alaska, and we focused, basically explicitly on Russia and Chinese enemy systems. And I'll tell you, we never really talked about balloons ever. That was never a thing that we ever talked about. So anyway, Eielson Air Force Base right now has F-35s. So it's now F-35s, and they also have tankers. So you'll see here, this is the, actually that's a C-5 there. But it's an Air National Guard tanker base, or at least was. And I'm assuming it hasn't changed. So you'll see tankers out there. These are actually B-52s. Look at that, bombers out when they're doing this this image over. So Eielson, Alaska. This is in the Arctic, so it gets very cold up here. It's north of Denali Range. It's north of the mountains, so it is Arctic weather up here. And so the F-35s basically launched out of this base. They must have had tanker support, or I'm guessing, because it's 400 miles, 300 miles up to here. F-35s do have amazing legs, though. They really can fly for 3 hours. So actually, I don't want to say that they can't do it. So F-35s maybe could have come up here, loitered a little bit, and then come back, actually. But this is around 330 miles. So after the Chinese shoot down on 4 Feb, they basically turned up the sensitivity, I think, of these radars out here and tracked this object, okay, up to, in this area, Prudhoe Bay, and then later shot it down with F-22s. And I have a few videos about that. Yeah, actually a live stream. And then basically the following day, or kind of the same day, if you consider working through the night, they tracked another object, okay, and turns out a cylindrical object that they said was a small metallic balloon is what came out of this one. And this is the one, this is across the Canadian border here, where basically they pass into Canada. So Biden is talking to Trudeau and saying, hey, is this an issue? They say no, so they shoot it down. And then we hadn't heard much about that until recently. I'll talk about that in a second. But just to finish out here, then the next day they picked up something coming in, sounds like into Montana, and they launched 15 F-15s, so quite a few F-15s out of Portland to intercept. They couldn't find it, so late at night, this is something really small, okay? And if you look at the live that I did on the audio for these F-16 guys, what happened the next day essentially is this thing tracked all the way across the northern border here, and then ended up in Lake Huron, and they shot it down basically in Lake Huron. It was F-16s from Duluth, basically Minnesota National Guard, and so they shot it down. The first missile missed, and so they hit it with a second missile. So again, get a lot of questions. Missiles are expendable items, right? It's like bullets. It's like being mad at the army for shooting bullets. Like missiles are expendable. You write those things off. We destroy them. Actually, I think we have to pay. Rains, you should know. Okay, excellent. So let's talk to what to think about it. I was thinking through the week, getting just tons of questions, tons of views. The other fighter pilot YouTubers are just making video after video. It's pretty crazy. I got questions from everyone I know, literally, even people, I didn't know, sending me questions. All right. So what to think on it? I thought probably the best way to summarize it came from Christopher Mellon. He's kind of the leader, or I believe the leader of the current movement, or started it in the US. I mean, he really pushed it, and Lou Elizondo, and he explains it really. This is his website, christophermellon.net. And yeah, I can go through about here, but basically, if you look, he has his latest news, and he writes his articles here. And so you can go to this article, Statement for the Press and Public Regarding Recent UAP Shootdowns. Okay, it's an 8-minute read. I'm going to kind of go through it tonight and read through it, see how it goes. But I think it really just explains everything really well. So what I did is I actually put it into my own Google Doc statement so I could edit it, etc. So I tried to take out some things that I would want to take out to make it as short as possible. And what I found is I couldn't, because most of the data is just pretty awesome. Like, he wrote an amazing article. So we'll go through this quickly, and then we'll start knocking out questions. So, statement for the press and public regarding recent UAP shootdowns. It's important for the public to understand the larger context of the events of the last 10 days involving the shootdown of unidentified objects over U.S. and Canadian airspace. These reported UAP incidents are only a small part of a much larger failure on the part of the U.S. intelligence community. Consider the following. So this is where Chris shows, if I can call him Chris, I've never met him actually, how he's involved in this. Okay, so October 4th, 2017, Louis Elizondo resigned his position on the staff of the Secretary of Defense in protest over the failure to report or investigate UAP violating restricted U.S. airspace. This occurred after we had spent months working to alert senior officials and get them to take action regarding UAP violating restricted military airspace. So Christopher Mellon says they've been trying for years to basically make this happen. He's been trying to push for it. And most of these incursions were not slow, high-flying objects either, but craft operating at much higher operational speeds. There you go. And at much lower elevation and much closer proximity to U.S. forces and facilities. Notably, many of these objects appear to exhibit performance characteristics that are far more impressive and concerning than any of the objects recently downed by the U.S. Air Force. He says here in his letter, Elizondo stated, despite overwhelming evidence at both the unclassified and classified levels, certain individuals in the department remain staunchly opposed to further research on what could be a tactical threat to our pilots, sailors, and soldiers, and perhaps even an existential threat to our national security. So Chris Mellon seems like he just feeling quite vindicated, where he's been bringing this up for years, that there are issues. Okay, so maybe if they were listening, they would have seen this balloon. I mean, if it turns out, and they do have the equipment, right? They did get a lot of equipment from the bottom of, or it was 47 feet of water off Myrtle Beach. So say it turns out that they were collecting, right? So then how long have they been collecting? Maybe if they took it seriously, if the Air Force actually took this seriously from the beginning, they would have caught it. So Chris Mellon, again, frustrated and concerned that this vital information was being ignored, and not knowing what else to do, I contacted the New York Times and provided them the now famous FLIR and gimbal videos, as well as introducing the reporters to Mr. Elizondo. So Chris Mellon basically made a lot of that happen, right? To my mind, that what was occurring was reminiscent of elements of both Pearl Harbor and September 11th. Unidentified aircraft were being detected, but no warning information was being sent up the chain of command. At the same time, it was clear that each of the services and many of the intelligence agencies had UAP information they were not sharing with one another, And he names out basically all of these guys. He crushes the Air Force later on. So NRO, DIA, CIA, NGA, NSA, Army, Navy, Air Force, DOE, etc. He basically says they were not sharing with one another. When the New York Times, when the New York Times story of December 16, 2017 failed to innervate Congress to engage on the issue, I contacted some former colleagues on the staff of the Senate Intelligence Armed Service Committees, introduced them to Elizondo. Subsequently, we facilitated introductions to a handful of brave U.S. Navy aviators willing to speak out. Commander David Fravor, Lieutenant Ryan Graves, and Lieutenant Alex Dietrich, who were able to provide compelling firsthand testimony about the extent of the UAP issue. The Navy was notably helpful, while the Air Force remained notably unhelpful, if not hostile, to inquiries on the subject. And so Chris Mellon, he's been saying that pretty much the whole time, is that the USAF is not only quiet on the subject, but they're literally hostile to any inquiries on the subject. So amazing. Thanks you to Bill Ferguson for that super chat, man. I really appreciate it. And welcome everybody tonight, Friday night. So going as long as I can take. Going on spring break the next 4 days. My son hasn't seen snow, so I want to bring him. We're driving to see snow, see how that goes. So I'm going to go as long as I can tonight. Hope to answer your questions. All right. The extent of the UAP activity over restricted military airspace revealed by Navy aviators was staggering. Lieutenant Graves indicated that he and his colleagues had captured UAP nearly every time, right? Nearly every time they conducted training in restricted airspace off the East Coast of the United States. I mean, that's just insane to me, right? Nearly every time. And it seems like there's just not that many balloons, right? Even if they shot down these, let's say it was a surveillance balloon, obviously that was a balloon. Let's even say the other three were balloons. That's only three, right? And these guys are saying they see these things all the time. So my question is, did they see like hundreds of balloons flying around out there? Because that doesn't answer these questions. All right, so we know about that stuff. Yes, so discussions after that did lead to about a lot of these things. And finally, the preliminary assessment, as I believe we should know at this point. All right, this is a good point. Notably, USAF F-22s were operating in the same training areas as the Navy aviators. Yet, despite having superior sensor systems, they were not reporting UAP that must have been detected by their radars. I mean, this is a great point because you think on the East Coast, you have all the radars, right? That's when we started seeing the box orbs on the East Coast, is when they had the upgraded radar, right? The APG-73 is the upgraded radar. Is the upgraded radar. And so when they went to an ASA radar now, they were seeing these things. But what he's saying is, what about the Air Force? The Air Force has had ASA radars in the F-22s, F-15s as well, and I think now putting in F-16. So they have ASAs. F-35 has an ASA. So why aren't they saying anything? That is a great question. And in fact, the preliminary assessment provided to Congress was almost completely devoid of information from the Air Force, despite the fact that the Air Force, as a department, which also oversees the Space Force, has far more aircraft and sensor systems than the Navy, as well as the responsibility for supporting NORAD. So that is a great question. The Air Force has been just totally quiet, just looks so suspicious, right? Just looks so guilty when you go back to Roswell, and that's where it came. They went to Wright Pat with the wreckage. I mean, yeah, it just seems so strange. And I know a 3-star, I don't know him, but, in high command who hadn't heard of UAPs, so I don't think they, until today, until this last week, I bet the most generals in the Air Force probably didn't even know what UAP meant, or maybe they'd possibly been briefed on it, but my guess is they didn't take it seriously. All right, so then I'll end on this last point, and then we'll go to questions here. So by last May, when the House Intelligence Committee held an open public hearing on the UAP issue, the number of official UAP reports had climbed to 400. More recently, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence submitted a new unclassified report on UAP, indicating that it had succeeded in characterizing 195 of 510 UAP incidents. Okay, so this is where we were at. However, the residual number of unexplained UAP incidents remains in excess of 300, again, not including NORAD uncorrelated targets, or undersea anomalies, or anomalies in space. I just couldn't believe that. I mean, they're not including any of the space. Nothing from NORAD. What about all the uncorrelated targets? Yeah, it's just like nothing was being done. And I think, so I see this whole event as a real positive move for, at least it's an opportunity, right? Not to totally screw it away. so, so that's thanks to Big Bree, Texas. Thank you, man. All right, why don't we'll come back to this as we go through. But I had first set up. Let's say welcome to everybody. Hi, Killick, welcome. Big Bree, Sooner, welcome everybody. Bill Ferguson, always thanks for the long support. So what I have set up here is some questions from just patrons first. 4 questions, I believe, 5 questions. So we'll get through these first. So why do journalists just take those explanations without questioning them, even though they're extremely unlikely? When do you think we'll reach the point of undeniability? So I can only put 200 characters in here. So the original question was basically, how does the government come up with all these random things that they're going to say, right? Because at the beginning, what did they say? They literally just called it UFOs. Why didn't they call them balloons if they suspected they were balloons? So when will the media accept that UAPs is a reasonable question? This is kind of what I understand here. When do you think we'll reach the point of undeniability that they can't deny there's nothing going on? No idea, man. I mean, all we need is one case, right? We need one case. So if they would just release more information, that would help a lot. I don't know. I'm not sure. Let's go next. The YouTube Coulthard Need to Know show from last night is intellectually absolutely remarkable. I would recommend seeing it before posting questions. Chris Mellon only has a blog. He is active on Twitter as well. I think he's working a lot behind the scenes. I watched that show as well. And it was really Ross Coulthard. He's amazed at seeing the fight, he believes, between the Congress and the military. And he thinks it's just, they are really just at it, essentially. And the Air Force is getting to a point where they're just not going to be able to say, they'll have to say something. All right. They'll have to talk about it. Is the Pentagon using this as an excuse to make the casual observers who aren't paying as much attention think that all the UAP sightings are as simple as these? I mean, I don't think they think that far ahead. I think maybe you give them too much credit, or we are, but they're definitely going to take advantage of any opportunity, right? So if they can, why wouldn't they? And that's the thing here, that I guess the risk a lot of people are saying is, why are they calling these UFOs? I've seen that there seems like frustration in the UFO community that they're labeling these as UFOs when they appear to, initially they don't seem to be like Tic Tacs. It's definitely not something that shows up right away and then disappears at supersonic, hypersonic speeds that we can't attain. These things are floating in the wind. We're able to pick them up over long periods of time. They're predictable. So they're not doing any of the 5 observables, essentially. So there's nothing really, and they were unidentified. So, all right, what do we got next? I've also seen a few comments mentioning a vacuum balloon. If the materials existed, would this create lift? Could lighter than air materials actually exist? Yeah, I mean, for sure, lighter than air balloons already exist, right? So I was reading through this, pretty interesting, because it's density, right? That's why things float. Ships float because the volume it weighs less, right? Has less mass. I'm gonna get in trouble with physicists. Has less mass per volume than the water, so it rises, right? Even though steel is really heavy, the air inside of it, right, the total volume that it displaces of water of that vessel is lighter than the air, so it will float, right? So density does matter. If lighter gases will float, right? Hydrogen, it's just a 1H super light gas, right? So as soon as that's why hydrogen is not as big an issue for fires, because if you have a big propane tank and there's a leak in it, the hydrogen is just going to go up. It's just going to disappear. It's not like gasoline where it's going to drain on the ground and burn, like through the floor. So gases are certainly lighter. Could you make like a vacuum airship? If we had if you had a material that was strong enough, theoretically you could. If it was strong enough, like if you had just amazing strength, like somehow we did buckyballs in a big sphere, then ideally, right, you could pump out the air. If it was, you could make it a rigid structure, you could pump out the air, and now that thing would just float, right? It would be lighter than air. But we just don't have the materials, right? There's just huge material constraints. And I think just we haven't been doing it. You know, we kind of assume that everything's being progressed, right? You know, people are obviously companies are working on battery technology. Well, it turns out they weren't, right? For the last 30 years, they weren't doing shit, essentially. I mean, we've seen huge battery, you know, you're going to see just amazing breakthroughs in battery technology. Why? Because people actually care. That's what we're going to see. So I think theoretically you could make a vacuum airship, right? We just don't have the technology yet. But interesting question. Would it have made sense to simply say they were balloons right off the bat, and if they were UAP, intended for us to shoot them down due to their location in our airspace and lack of evasive maneuvers? Were they intended for us to shoot down? I mean, I think hindsight is 2020. I thought it was interesting, to say the least, that, you know, the president's just like, go shoot those things down. You know, if I was in the Air Force, I'd be pumped and also nervous. You know, you're going to shoot something down over U.S. territory. It's in a missile. You know, we don't get to shoot missiles a lot, so it's quite exciting, actually. But they didn't know what they were, so I'm glad they said they're unidentified objects. Yeah, I don't know what else they could have said. I think it's okay. I don't think we were supposed to shoot them down. I don't know. So let's talk about what do I think maybe one of them was, okay? And let me show this. And this is from my fighter pilot buddy. He sent it to me. He said he thinks this is it. Let's see here. Yeah, have you guys seen this? Let me pull this off. Okay. I actually think this could be correct. So Hobby Club's missing balloon feared shot down by USAF. Look at these guys. I don't know. I hope they're sad. They don't look sad. I think they're just taking a picture. Yeah. So basically, this is pretty awesome. This is not a latex balloon. Why I think this could be the issue is what we found, and I remember this from investigating the rubber duck. If you go back, it was like my second live stream was about the rubber duck with Carl Crusher, actually, and Vinny Adams. They were there. And what we kind of determined is that most likely it was a latex balloon. And I learned from Dave Falch, actually, that in these FLIR systems, for whatever reason, latex, it's invisible, right? So if you think of a balloon, the temperature inside is going to be the same as the temperature outside over some time, right? Over a certain amount of time. So if you can't see that material, then it's like a clear plastic bag, right? And although we can like see through this with our eyes, you can see through this right here. My bet is under IR, we would be able to see it most likely. The only ones like Mylar balloons, you could see very clearly under the FLIR. So I think this would look like dark. It could look like a black object under FLIR easily, you know. So what they're saying is, let's see, a small globe-trotting balloon declared missing in action by an Illinois-based hobbyist club on February 15th has emerged as a candidate to explain what are the three mystery objects shot down by four heat-seeking missiles launched by U.S. Air Force fighters since February 10th. Okay, did they shoot four heat-seeking missiles at it? I hope not. I mean, that might be embarrassing. The club, the Northern Illinois Bottle Cap Balloon Brigade, yes, is not pointing fingers yet. Oh, I love that. The Northern Illinois Bottle Cap Balloon Brigade, NIB. But the circumstantial evidence is at least intriguing. It is. So listen, they basically track it to it. The club's silver-coated party-style Pico balloon reported its last position February 10th at 38,910 feet off the west coast of Alaska, and a popular forecasting tool, the high split model, provided by NOAA, projected the cylindrically shaped object would be floating high over the central part of the Yukon Territory on February 11th. That is the same day a Lockheed Martin F-22 shot down an unidentified object of a similar description and altitude in the same area. So that's these guys. And basically you have these enthusiasts out there, and they have a ham radio combined with a receiver, so they can basically track where this thing is at all time. It actually it transmits, and they pick it up with a receiver, and they pick up its coordinates. Essentially, they're just finding out where it is, and these things will just circumnavigate. They said several times. Let me show you what this thing looks like. What you can read here. I have no update from you from NORAD on these objects, a spokesman said. And yeah, here it is. The balloons can come in several forms. Some enthusiasts still use common Mylar party balloons. Those can go up to 20 to 30,000 feet. And they're about $12. The Pico ballooning community, they're nervous, right? About the negative attention. They're sending out these balloons and they're just getting shot down by fighters from the White House. And we did assess their altitudes were considerably lower than the Chinese high altitude balloon, but no threat. So they tracked it. Basically, the coordinates were in that area. It's a Pico balloon. And there was a name of the actual system. If I can find that in a second. All right. So that's all the kind of the updates I want to give. So let's get back to your questions I missed up here. Thanks for being here, everybody. Let's start with this is from Paul Bellino. Thanks again for the super chat. If they are true UFOs, alien, I don't think we should be shooting them down. They have not shown any true threat. I agree. I mean, it seems weird they would just shoot down objects. I don't think they'll be shooting down anymore. I think there's been enough bad press on it. Thanks, Cathal P, for the super sticker. Okay. How could they ignore the Go Fast Phoenix lights regarding their press conference? One senator came out, seemed semi-pissed the government won't divulge what they know. I think that's Marco Rubio. I saw an interview. He came out 8 minutes. That's just an amazing little press interview. I was going to do that video. He basically said that they have information. 95% of it could easily be released to the public without damaging national security. But he seemed frustrated. They're not going to share it. All right. Thanks for being here. I don't use an expensive missile. A pin works. Maybe the Air Force could have used something cheaper, like rounds from whatever guns they have. Yeah, I've seen that a lot. And as far as these altitudes, it's a lot easier than you think to shoot. It's a lot harder than you would think to shoot a balloon up high, right? And it really comes down to risk mitigation. So how badly do you need this balloon shot down? Are you willing to lose some fighters over it? My guess is probably not. So you're going to risk mitigate. So we're not going to go to like threat level high where we're going to risk pilot lives and vehicles to try and shoot these things down. And missiles are expendable, by the way. So we expend those. You have to actually pay. We actually pay. So U.S. taxpayers pay certain companies to dismantle missiles because they run out of their shelf life, right? So you have hundreds of missiles that literally are paid. We pay people to destroy them every year. So shooting them, I think, is, as long as you're not doing it all the time, right? I don't think it's like a bad thing. Like, I'm not worried about the money. If you guys knew how much they spend in gas on that mission, or just daily on training missions, blow all your minds. Yeah, it's not cheap. But I'm glad they're doing it for something, right? You get to see them, you get to see what they do, get to hear them. Okay. All right. Greetings. Thank you, Vapor Missile, for being here. All right. Let's do this, Andres. Maybe you'll play my UAP video. I don't know. Heard a rumor it was a $10 balloon and not ET, like I just showed. We can find scientific balloon solutions. That's it. I'll find it here in a second. I'm looking up your next one. Thank you, Neokal. I'm doing great. Good. Okay, let's see. From Steven, I have a non-UFO question. What year did you start flying the F-16s, and when did you leave the USAF? I started flying in, let's see, I got out of pilot. I went to Navy pilot training in Pensacola. I flew the T-34 actually. Now they have the T-6 Texan, And then after that, I went to Air Force T-38 training in Oklahoma, Enid, Oklahoma. Went to F-16. So that must have been middle of 2001. And then I finished 2020. My last flight was actually the end of 2019, actually. I didn't know it'd be my last flight, but it was an interesting one. Excellent. Okay. Let's see. This latest military funding pitch is wild. Space Force must need new uniforms from Pickled Witch. Thank you, mate. I don't know that latest. They they go nuts over uniforms, man. The military. Oh, it's so funny. Hey, Lato Files, what's up from Stumpy? What is the deal with them being called UFO after feeding us UAP for 3 years or more? Interesting, right? I kind of think of it in the true sense of a UFO. You know, they were saying, yeah, it's unidentified, and I wasn't even thinking of. I don't know. I was just thinking, yeah, it's an unidentified flying object. I don't know why. I didn't even think of alien. It's so funny because the people in the UFO community, it seems like the people I've talked to, at least, like Vinnie Adams, Martin Willis, other people I've talked to are saying, oh, these are, most likely balloons. And then the mainstream, they're going the other direction. So it's just quite interesting. It's like everybody's kind of overcorrecting. Balloon shooting spree, LOL. Welcome, everybody. A lot of people here trying to answer all of your questions. We showed the balloon there. It's called Scientific. Sorry about that. Scientific Balloon Solutions. Let me find it right now, just so I can show you guys what this thing looks like. You're gonna love it. So awesome. Scientific Balloon Solutions. Let's check this. Here, I'll show you. So actually, this is the balloon we launched was more full than this. So this one's going to go up even higher. But let's look at these products we got. And they were mentioning the Pico balloon. Look at this. What does this look like to you guys? It's literally a Tic Tac, right? I mean, here's a little thing, and then it blows up. So this one is so 6 feet long by 3 feet wide, right? This Tic Tac shaped super pressure balloon is what they call it. And this one goes up to 43 to 45K. And that's 7.5 feet long. And this one, they don't have pictures of these, but they go up to 55,000 and 60,000 feet. And so these things have circumnavigated, is what it says. So it just flies all the way around the globe. Yeah, so you can make a balloon into any shape. You can make it look like in the shape of a Tic Tac. Breakdown, the most current, newest UFOs. Hello, Renee. Thanks for all the support. Hire from Cold Cleveland. Hello. Avocado flight. Yeah, everyone hopefully is well. What is your favorite block of the F-16? That's a great question. So, Stephen, I like the one I flew up in Alaska. It's analog. Actually, the flight controls are analog. So that allowed us to do a lot of kind of tricky stuff with it. We were the aggressors, kind of like the old crusty pilots, and we did a lot of air-to-air fight. That's all we did was air-to-air fighting. So we got quite good at it. And in the analog jets, you could go past the limits, go past the flight limits in certain ways, and you could actually do like cool aggressive immelman tactics. So I could kind of like flip the jet when I needed to threaten somebody in a fight. It was quite fun, and they had very big engines, and they were lighter, so they didn't have all the avionics. So that was a big missing part. Was we didn't have a lot of there was no helmet, right? So we didn't have the helmet mounted sight, and we didn't have a lot of the fancy equipment, the targeting pods. But it was very light, and we wouldn't carry any tanks, so you could fly. You could super cruise. So we get up to altitude, and with no drag in the aircraft, you would refuel off the tanker. And we could go, the fastest I went was up here, right? 1.83 Mach, basically in the range here. I went 1.83. That was the fastest. That was off the tanker and that clean jet. That was an afterburner. Yeah, excellent. Here's the play. If it's a flying saucer, then no debris will be found. No debris, no UFOs. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, right? Imagine they found a flying saucer, right? Flying saucer debris. Would we hear about it? I think probably not. All right, Lauren Williams, thank you. Let's see, I have this. I had some shorts I can play while I'm looking through your questions here. So this was a yeah. So that's why I think it missed is it just didn't fuse. It uses a infrared proximity fuse. Have they gotten? Let's see. This is from pre-war. Have they gotten the go-ahead to fire on a Tic Tac? I hope not. I don't think Fravors first intent. He never said he was going to shoot it. I don't think that was their intention. If they saw something truly crazy, but like that. Let's see. From George Sankey. Aloha, Chris. What was your call sign? I'm guessing, and why? Bunch of question marks. My call sign was Otis, and you just don't give that information out willy nilly. Actually, it's not. It's impolite to ask why. Usually, it's embarrassing. Hey, Chris, great shirt. Awesome. Thank you. Quick question. Why do you think the media is making such a huge deal out of these objects, but not the unbelievable fast moving encounters? I mean, I don't know. I think they did. It was on the New York Times. I talked to Leslie Kane, and she said, when I interviewed her last year, and she said she'd never seen anything like this. It was just insane the amount of media attention given to the UAP topic. So I think they did give it a lot, but then the public just forgets, man. They just forget about it, and people are like, "Oh yeah, there might be aliens." I mean, to me, I just can't say there might be aliens and then go on with my day. I don't know. Like, what do you mean there might be aliens? Why are they calling the things UFO, not UAP? I don't know. I mean, these really were just unidentified flying objects. Like, honestly, I don't think of them as UAP. I don't think of it as an anomalous phenomenon. People ask, I guess they say, why don't they just call it UFOs instead of UAPs? But I don't know. The UAP is an anomalous phenomena. I would see it as, okay, we're picking something up here. We launch, the fighters see it, and then it disappears, and or it moves away very quickly, or yeah, I don't know. That's why. Check out Backcountry Alaska to see the military gear sent to retrieve UFO while government lied. Backcountry Alaska, is that a channel, I guess? I did see one channel saying that they quit searching up at Prudhoe Bay. Well, excellent. Thank you, Rob Freeman, man. Thank you. Keep up the great content. It's a great channel. Hope we get some answers someday. I hope so too. I agree. Let's see. I hope so. Welcome. Hi, Bill. Let's see this one. What's your opinion on Ross Coulthard's claim that a Navy admiral went to the Biden administration and essentially accused the Air Force of filtering out radar results? And they believed it's a national. Let's see that later. I did hear about that. Well, like I just said, that's what that's what he says right here, right in his paper, or it was. He basically says that they haven't been doing it. Right? They haven't been sharing in the ocean. Okay, sorry, I didn't get to this part. I skipped the second half of the only highlighted part I made. Many of us researching the UAP issue believe the government has data regarding UAP in the oceans and space that it still has not shared with Congress or the public. So, I mean, you have it clearly right there as they're not sharing with Congress or the public. So they even have data that they're not sharing. This is saying they're filtering out. You have to filter out, though. There's thousands of things. that's the whole point of our military systems. Why is it, why does it do this? It filters out everything else. Think about it. It's not easy to go out there. And I didn't even talk about why it's dangerous, to shoot the high altitude balloons. Um, it's because there's not enough air, and you have to get within a mile of it to shoot it with a gun, or a mile and a half, right? So the problem is, if you're going 200 knots, probably the slowest they could possibly be going to shoot this thing, then you're basically covering a mile in 20 seconds. So you have 15, 20 seconds to lock this thing, find it, shoot it correctly, avoid it, right? Get out of the way so you don't hit any frag or anything. And that has to all happen in less than 20 seconds. And by the way, there's a min range, so you can't get closer than 1,000 feet, and you have to avoid any frag, anything that blows out of this thing. So you actually only have about 10 seconds. So they have 10 seconds to try and pick this thing up, and they weren't able to see it in time, right? So it was too small. The problem with shooting the gun on the high altitude balloon, the Chinese surveillance balloon, is it's so high, right? So the way it works is, in order to fly that high at that altitude, to actually fly, the air is so thin. There's no air at 64,000 feet, essentially. I mean, that's the problem. There's half the oxygen, there's half the air at 18,000 feet, right? So half the air at 18,000 feet. And it just goes down, basically exponentially, until at 64,000 feet, there's very little air. And so that's the reason jets want to fly higher, is so they can use less gas. They're much more efficient, and there's much less air molecules to actually run into. So if you think about it, they're actually going the same speed through the air, but the air is so separated that's why their Mach number increases. So they're actually going much faster over the ground. But in terms of how many air molecules are hitting them, the pressure against the pitot tube, etc., is the same, very fast up high or slower down low. So that's why up high altitude, they have to go 1.3 Mach just to maintain kind of controllability, because you have to be going so fast, right? Mach 1 up at those altitudes, just to get enough air over your control surfaces to even fly the plane. So it's very high altitude. Could they have shot it with the gun? I mean, yeah, probably. It probably could have made it happen. It'd be a weird, tricky, dangerous maneuver where you have an F-22 almost going out of control. So I could see it. It sounds easy, like, oh, we'll just do that. And then if I had to go actually do that, I'd be like, nah, man, let's just shoot him. Or we can just shoot a missile at it, right? Just, and everything's safe. Watch it. Okay, there it is. It hit, So that's the reason. Thank you, Lucy Bell. Oh, thanks for that. Again, appreciate all the support, guys. So it was a toy balloon all along. It was toy. That's not a toy balloon, right? Look at this. This thing is a science balloon. We launched the balloon. It's interesting. These things fly all around the world, so they track it. And there was 3 countries I noted in this reading this article, where he actually had to, there you go. There's your $12 system. I hope they spent more than that. There's like 3 countries where they have to turn it off, right? They have to turn off the actual VHF, UHF antennas. It was the UK, North Korea, and Iran, I think, is what they had to turn it off. So pretty interesting. Oh, here we go. 3 countries: North Korea, Yemen, and the UK restrict transmissions from balloons in their airspace. So the community's integrated geofencing software into the tracking devices. So the balloons still overfly the countries, but do not transmit their positions over their airspace. So pretty interesting. And then they track it. I think it's great education. I'm happy to see anyone learning anything about UAPs, honestly, if they're not just using talking about it. All right. Hello to Romania. Security threat causing Biden to stop the info from going to Error and form his own independent commission. That was a shame, right? I mean, why form an independent commission? But then I listened to Gary Nolan's interview on Tim Ventura. I was just listening to that today, and he said he actually heard that it has many more powers. So it actually has more agencies, more power than Arrow. So if that's the case, then that's great. So the problem is you just get more, it just gets diffused up. I'd rather them just put their money where they're already mouth and paperwork is, and just focus on arrow. Chris, I saw a video of, oh, here we go, sorry. I saw a video of Alaskan UFO being misled, and then another video where it was on a flatbed truck underneath a canvas tarp. That's the problem these days, Renee. I mean, you've seen AI, and you can literally make anything. Anyone can make anything online, and it can be, reasonably good. Hard to tell. So, like when I get videos from people, I look at the video, and then the rest of the work after that is just verifying the person. Are you a legit person? What are your intentions? Are you trying to waste our time? So it's all verifying the person. It's difficult. Hobbyist balloon. It is. Let's see. Thanks. Thanks, Anon. Covering Putov's ultra-terrestrial as an example of this. Yeah, I like ultra-terrestrial. I think in the past, right? In the past, it was very important that people had their credentials, right? Because where else you can't get information? You couldn't get information in the past. What the internet has solved for us is information search, right? We can really search for stuff. I mean, I'm talking to how many? Thanks everybody for being here, but over 1,000 people right now, direct. No other entity kind of interfering that we know about, at least. But think in the past, right? If you wanted to find anything out, it was hard. It was hard. You had to go to the library. Right? I mean, the best case was to find the smartest person on it, right? Who had written all the books. That would be the shortest time, because otherwise you'd have to go to the library and literally find the books, read all of the books, right? Get the information, and then get an answer. Okay, I think the fastest would have been just to find the person that wrote the book. So that's why we needed credentials. Who is the expert? Who is the expert on blank? Because it's the fastest. You could just go ask them, because basically information was stored in people's brains and paper, but now it's stored online, and with AI in search now, we can just find out, so much information. It's just, it's amazing. So I think we should definitely keep an open mind, and yeah, we may be able to get an answer. China and Russia know America is getting weak. Oh. I mean, my own view on it is there's a life cycle, like everything we know that lives on Earth follows certain patterns, and they live and die. Organisms live and die. Really, if you think about it, when was the U.S. when it was created? It could be the best, most amazing, perfect idea when it's created, but then look at the world now as opposed to the world 1776, right? The world has completely changed. So at some point, the organism just can't adapt to the environment, right? Because it's easier, it's simpler. Look at evolution. It's simpler just to create a whole new organism in the new environment, within the new environment, than it is to take the old system that's corrupted, right? Has all the old, decrepit 80-year-old, and teach him to be like an Olympic gymnast. It's just not going to happen, So I think nations are the same. Like, it's just when these nations are just so scared of death, they're just so scared of death that we'll destroy the earth before we'll lose our culture, It's just funny to me. This is a cry wolf scenario. I've seen that a lot. Yeah. We're still on the balloons. I know. Well, I want to end it. So if there's no more questions, we can move on. No, I think it's great though. Like Chris Mellon said, don't believe the government's false narrative. Yeah. More to this story. So he thinks it will be. Sorry, I just missed. Here we go. Do you think China will eventually end up using their stratospheric army to launch hundreds of thousands of balloons at USA for reconnaissance, NBC weapons delivery? Well, I mean, the NBC weapons delivery, first, a intercontinental ballistic missile can get anywhere on Earth in 45 minutes. Can get anywhere on Earth in 45 minutes. That's why the SpaceX Starship, that'll be the fastest way to possibly travel from, anywhere on Earth, is like an ICBM, right? So they already have those. So, what are you trying to save money by going nuclear launch by balloon? We're trying to cut costs. So no, I don't think it's required. I think it could be very useful as a surveillance. I think it could be, balloons are going to be future tech. Like you're gonna go to space in a balloon way before you're gonna go to space in a rocket. That's my own belief. It's gonna be way cheaper, way safer, and probably a lot more comfortable. So balloons are definitely gonna be a thing. They're gonna be a thing, and they're certainly gonna be a thing in the military, like you saw. Really, the biggest thing is persistence, right? So we have satellites that low Earth orbit. So a satellite at low Earth orbit will be able to read your license plate, right? This is from Mark D'Antonio. But it'll go by like the ISS, the International Space Station. So basically a minute. I don't know the exact time. I'll find out the time, hopefully. But it'll be gone, right? So you get 1 minute over a target, and then you have to wait another 90 minutes before you see it again. Whereas a geosynchronous satellite, okay, they'll be way far away. The problem is they're hundreds of thousands of miles away. So they can't see, where we don't have the telescope technology to read, to identify you from space that far away. So I guess that's where balloons kind of fill some niche in between. So they'll be persistent, right, up in the atmosphere, but they're still very hard to control. And the technology is not so easy, right? You're basically in space. It's a space vehicle. It's a space vehicle, right? When you get up to 70,000 feet. How far does an errant missile fly? I don't know. It's going Mach 2.5. And then, a rocket, it's just like a bottle rocket, right? It's a really expensive, fancy bottle rocket. So it'll shoot for 2 seconds. So it accelerates to Mach 2.5, and then it'll just keep gliding until it ballistically falls into the ocean. So that's basically what it's going to fly. So I would do Mach 2, that's 2 miles a minute. It flies for maybe, that's 20 miles a minute. It flies for maybe a minute. So it goes maybe like 20 miles. Let's see. The thing I see from Scott Schmer, the thing I see is the octagon was invisible to view, but seen on radar. Yeah, and that's what I was saying. It could be, there's different spectrums, right? That's what we're talking about. There's like a stealth aircraft is stealth, but it can't be stealth in optical, right? So it's not stealth in every spectrum of electromagnetic frequencies. So that would be the same. So there could be objects like this, this Hobby Lobby one where you can see, like I was explaining, we can see through it here, right? So it would be invisible, but under IR, if it's, I believe under IR, this would be seen or could be seen as black, dark, different spectrums, right? They're going to reflect light different ways. That's too bad. We spent way more than that. L Fox, we spent $2 million on shooting down a hobby balloon. We learned a lot. $1 million bullets. Yep. It's not that much compared to the gas. Pico, it's Pico, Pico, like small miniature balloons. Okay, why didn't they shoot down the objects with the Gatling? Surely it would be able to hit a slow moving or drifting target. Okay, this is basically what I explained the last 10 minutes. So hopefully you guys can hear me now. Okay, so basically shooting the cannon, you have to get within 1.5 miles. So that's the min range you can get with the cannon. Otherwise the bullets don't fuse and they basically start tumbling. So they're just not going to hit. The problem is when you're up high, there's not enough air. So the problem is at 18,000 feet, you have half the oxygen, half the air that you have at the surface. And at 64,000 feet, it is just way, way less than that. So you have to go much faster over the ground. This is why the Mach numbers get confusing, right? Because the air molecules at 64,000 feet are like this far away, right? And the air molecules down here, close to sea level, are like this far away. So the plane has to fly the same speed. It has to hit the same number of air molecules to be able to fly, to actually fly, right? So up at higher altitudes, you have to go much faster over the ground because the air is separated. It's further, it's spread out. The pressure is much, much lower. So that's why jet engines, they're more efficient, but they need more oxygen. Like we can't burn our afterburners up higher. And there's many other effects. The higher you fly, the further you can go, the more efficient you can go, but you have much less control. So up at 64,000 feet, they could have, F-22s probably could have shot that thing down, but it would have been very dangerous maneuver, right? They're going to have no control flying up to this balloon at 64,000 feet. And then they would have, while it pops, if any of that, whatever it is, latex gets into the engine, they're totally screwed. So it's very dangerous if it even works, Or you can just shoot a missile at it, right? Just, okay, there it is, locked, shoot, done. Watch it safely from a distance. And the missiles are expendable. They literally expend those, their bullets. So that's why. I've also heard you could use like an Apache, right? Why don't they just fly an Apache up there? Well, an Apache, the max an Apache can fly is 20,000 feet. So that's the max. So it could have like gotten up there. Maybe, I don't even think it could have gotten up there. But let's say they took out everything. It was, super light, just the bullets. And then they get up there, they could probably shoot it. Maybe. I wish, man. These computers are way more expensive. Thousands on computers. They keep breaking. Did I see any weird stuff in Alaska? I saw a lot of weird dress. People dress pretty weird there. No. Yeah, Alaska's a crazy place. Amazing. See, the cancel culture doesn't like UFO talk. That's too bad. I can read lips. It was just 5 minutes. Yeah, I need to get up because I couldn't tell. Okay. Yeah, I was on mute, guys. Sorry, my microphone just randomly cut out. I'll be closer up on the chat there. Let's see. Not enough air for rotors at altitude. Exactly. Yep, that's your issue. So like I just mentioned, when you go up in altitude, it is a kick you in the pants change, right? So helicopters, they can't up at altitude. Helicopters crash in Afghanistan all the time because it's high altitude. I love this. Yes, totally. Are you aware there's no empirical scientific evidence of Earth curvature, motion, or mass causing gravity? Yeah. But if you say that, I'm going to say the universe is flat and Earth appears curved. That's what I'm going to say. Super interesting. Why not use high energy beam to puncture balloon? We don't have any that I know of. I heard they were going to put like a laser on the F-35. That was back in the day, decades ago, because it had some amazing capability. I don't know. We had that airborne laser, but I don't know what happened to that thing. I think probably the best just shoot a rocket at it. We have F-16s. Just load up a rocket pod, shoot rockets at it. It's very cheap, cheaper than guns. You don't have to get close, and you can aim with the targeting pod. You can just laze it, shoot it with a rocket. Probably the best, easiest way. I don't know what that is. Pacific Ring of Fire. Alien appropriation. Yeah, Ryan Graves said he saw them every day. That's crazy. What do you think about Antarctica? I have no idea about Antarctica. It's got to be something crazy down there. I know you can just find meteorites just on the ground because they just stick out. Was the missile made in China? It's probably one of the, you can say what you want about the military industrial complex, but it has kept high grade military, or not military, technical knowledge in countries. Globalization is basically kind of brain drained, at least, think of manufacturing in America as an example. But with these systems, you can't share it with China, right? You can't get your missile made in China. So we have to make it in the US. So that knowledge has to be made here. Same with rocket engines, etc. So pretty interesting. At least it keeps technology, I guess. Exactly. Pentagon loses 3 trillion. Rockets are made to be shot, everybody. They're made to be shot, you know. If they were like, shoot it down, is it safer? It's safer to use a missile. I'm going to use a missile, you know, basically. Sorry, I already got that. Let's see. Where can I send you UFO vid? So if you guys have UFO vids, go to, please go to the UAP Society Discord. So UAP Society Discord, you can just search for it. It's the social media platform that we use, and we can integrate a lot of things. You can upload videos there, and then the community can look at them. If that doesn't work, you can send to chris.lado16@gmail. But I ask that you send the UAP Society. It is terrifying with their squeaky voices. At least we can make meme jokes about it. Thanks for being here, everybody. It's Friday night. I'm going to keep going. Probably another hour until I get too tired. Let's see. So from Keanu, didn't the government say that the object they saw in Montana went to Lake Michigan overnight, which is faster than the jet stream would move a balloon type object, right? I didn't do the math, but it's, you know, when it was shot down, they had 69 knots. It was going 69 knots. So 70 times 20. It's not math in public. 1,400 miles. I don't know. I think it's possible. So I think they would try to down an alien craft. I don't know. I think if you're told to shoot something down as a pilot, you're going to shoot. But if you get there and it looks and you see a UFO, like a literal alien flying object, I hope not. Bush sent all military-grade electronic manufacturing to Taiwan. Man, that would be just such a terrible idea. What do you think about NORAD saying they're not going to classify them as balloons for reasons? And now the sudden switch to, oh, they're all just balloons. I thought it was strange. You know, I watched the other fighter pilot YouTubers, basically what they thought. And I was seeing that they were reporting that it wasn't a balloon, or they weren't balloons, is what I heard from. So I was confused. Yeah, my question, why didn't they say they weren't balloons? Maybe they couldn't 100% identify them. Giant jobs program. It is quite a communist system if you look at the military. Okay, I don't want to get. Okay, curry for breakfast. We had a storm at 70 knots here in Scotland, had to close schools. It wasn't a balloon, mate. From Joseph McCrory, do you think there will be legislation brought in to compel commercial pilots to report? I'd rather not, you know, compel and make people report. I wish they could remove the stigma from it. And that is a huge issue, right? Because I kind of get the impression that the Air Force, you know, obviously there's been this UAP issues, right? There's been congressional laws written about it. The DOD's made offices about it. And I get the impression the Air Force has just been like, you know, don't look over there. They won't ask us any questions. But now they basically have to do that. And so I think just getting it out there can remove the stigma, but there's still a huge stigma. You look at the commercial airline pilots, they don't want to talk about it. People don't want to talk about this. Can you see a car-sized balloon on a FLIR? Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we see car-sized things all the time and blow them up. You can see people, you can see a balloon, you can see a person smoking a cigarette, you know, at a few miles. You can definitely see it. Could they see A-10s that shoot down those UFOs? Aren't they slower? They are. And the A-10's gun goes out to like 5 miles. So I was thinking maybe, you know, 5 miles is 30,000 feet. So the A-10 probably couldn't have shot that thing down. It's too high. It's from Stink Floyd. Wouldn't USAF IR and DPS satellites pick one of them coming into the atmosphere from space? I should hope so, right? I mean, that was But the other one thing is everything, all of our systems are looking towards humans on Earth, essentially, right? Are they even looking for craft entering from somewhere else? You know, if you're never looking, think of it like a beehive. You know, if I've thought about, you've seen if the bees are smoked or something, you can just walk right in. So it's almost like, are they even looking? Are the sensors even tuned to look at anything coming from somewhere else, or is it only from the Earth? It's kind of like if you filter out everything that doesn't look like a plane, well, you'll never find anything that's not a plane. So if their filters were just set too high. Research Kippen alien. Yeah, he kips like he does. He's good at pull-ups. I just hope Canada steps up, doesn't let the U.S. tell them how it is going to be. I don't think they. Yeah, they seem like they would. Okay, it was stated. This is from Jackie Radford. It was stated in the last UAP report they had plans of capturing a UAP. An update on efforts underway and the ability to capture, exploit discovered unidentified aerial phenomena. That would be the biggest indicator, right? I mean, that's the golden goose, the holy grail would be crash retrieval. So I don't know if they have it. Never heard of that. I guess I really look like Tony Hawk. I don't know. And incidentally, we asked him on the show. We just said, "Hey, get so many people tell me I look like you. Are you interested?" He said he wasn't interested. Have you seen any laser gun that could take care of balloons? The airborne laser. Look that sucker up, man. I'm curious how it's doing. No. Could this thing take down? Oh, sorry. Maybe there's some issue with my sharing. Okay, so this is the Boeing YAL-1. This was the airborne laser. Look at this thing, man. Dang. So with the mirror unstowed. So this thing's a beast. Look at that. It must shoot a laser like down the nose, and the pilots just have this huge laser shooting underneath them. And it's like, yeah, so this is the airborne laser. Let's see what happened to it. I don't know. Let's see. It was a test bed, weapon system, megawatt class, chemical oxygen iodine laser. I remember that. Coil laser. Near infrared chemical laser. As the beam is infrared, it cannot be seen with the naked eye. It's capable of output power scaling up to megawatts. So that's inside a Boeing 747. And the idea was when ballistic missiles were launching, they would use, I believe, that DPS system he just mentioned, you know, that satellite system to see where, you know, these ICBMs were launching from. And as they're like coming up in their boost phase, if you hit it with this laser, the wall of the missile will become unstable at those high Machs and then it'll blow up. You know, that was the whole plan. So I'm pretty sure that would take down a balloon. But just flying this would cost more than millions of dollars. Probably. How much does it cost to shoot one of those lasers? Let's see, it was canceled in December 2011. It was ultimately scrapped in September 2014 after all usable parts were removed. So interesting. I don't know what happened to it after that. Maybe that's what they'll be like. They'll be like, we need lasers. That was it. It's this coil system. Pretty cool. I was pretty impressed. Marco Rubio was saying all the right things. I mean, I agree with everything he said. Let me go to the. Thanks, Everett. Makes me think of that Japanese 747 that shot UFOs. That's right. He was grounded for years after that. It's pilot 747, Japanese. Said he saw a UFO, and then they grounded him. Yeah. I've been to the USAF Boneyard in Tucson. Crazy place. They just wrap up all these planes in like super shrink wrap to pull out. National Guard Black Hawk falls from the sky in Harvest, Alabama after 3 bogeys engaged. The laser rounds cost pennies, probably, right? That should be the point. But getting it up there, launching that thing, it's got to be a beast. Getting it to fire up. Alistar, do you ever check the Crab Harbor UFO story? I talked to Martin's friend. Yeah, he was a witness on it. Martin Willis basically talked about it. But no, I haven't looked into it enough. Been yeah, there's so much going on. How many flybys would NORAD have an object before shooting? Well, we didn't know, right? Because up until now, they hadn't shot anything down. NORAD's never shot anything down. Let's see, fighter maintenance officer here. Awesome. Thanks for being here. Miss working with you guys. Any Sky 360 updates? Did you see the video from last week? I made a video last week with Lionel Lamar. And they're using ChatGPT is accelerating Sky 360. So it's going quite a bit faster. And if you look at that last video from last week, I thought it was, I put it on this main channel because I thought it was so cool that he's using ChatGPT. And I asked Lionel, he's the developer writing the software for this thing, could you have done it without ChatGPT? And he said, no. You know, he couldn't have done it. So basically, what they did is they went to a robot operating system, ROS, because they couldn't get there from here. They needed real-time AI processing on this thing, right? Because what do we need? We need a zoom camera zoomed in. The problem with zoom cameras is they're really zoomed in, so you have to know exactly where to point it, and so you can't process it later. So you have to have real-time processing on this fisheye thing. So they got it. It seems to be working. So now they've made the software to queue up this system. And so now they have to, the next phase is to build this point to zoom. So the Aloha software, which is basically the fisheye lens, you know, this thing's a fisheye. It sees day, night up to 175 degrees, not sure. And basically this will ID stuff as best it can and then queue the system, but we'll still be able to get data. Hearing you describe the airborne laser firing on a missile in its boost phase makes me think about Robert Salas talking about photographing a UFO firing on an ICBM's payload back in the 1960s. Robert Jacobs. Yeah, amazing, right? How's life in Portugal? It's great. Love it. Super safe. People are nice. You know, you don't have many of the conveniences of living in the US. And there's been a lot of school strikes lately. That's been annoying. Why isn't there video from people on ground of shoot? There is. I mean, it's been so amazing. All the video we've gotten out of that surveillance balloon was just awesome. Just amazing video. Otherwise, all I've seen is from Prudhoe Bay. I saw there was a guy videoing there on the recovery efforts. Welcome. Okay, question from Stink Floyd. Do you think the Senate classified briefings this past Tuesday was about more concerning UAP that are not the 3 objects? I would hope so. I mean, it should have been. I don't. Okay, I'm late? Nope, all good. I want to know why they won't release the FLIR footage if these were just balloons. That's the question we should be asking. Like that really is the question, is, you know, if it should be unclassified. Marco Rubio said they can share it. He didn't say the actual FLIR video, but why not? Again, they show it if they blow something up, right? They show it. So if they blew something up here, why not show it? Yes, surely more UFOs will be detected now that our radars are more sensitive. Yep, you'll detect everything more. For sure. Thank you, Govi Gaming Garage. I can't ever stop being me. It's kind of the issue. It's going to be a balloon boneyard soon. It's awesome. Let's see, what's the highest you've flown? I've flown. I believe it was 50,000. I'm pretty sure we went to 50,000. That was in Aviano. It was just it was an amazing sortie. I was in Aviano, which is in Italy, and I was lucky enough to go fight MiG-29s for the day. They were Hungarian MiG-29s. So we flew east, and it's quite far from Italy. We had some issues leaving. They wouldn't let us take off. The Italian system, So we ended up taking off late, landed late there, but then we met with these guys, and I'll never forget. Showed up, and it was me and this other guy, D-Day, Normandia, and we looked like, we were 25 at the time. We looked like 19, and we show up, and these dudes were like straight out of the Cold War. They looked like in their 50s, with like scars. It was awesome. So we roll in, just us two, and they had this whole briefing room set up. And the mission was, it was us, just our two F-16s versus 4 MiG-29s and 2 L-39 Strikers. They're just like these air-to-ground little bombers. And the D-Day was like, he made it even harder. So we couldn't shoot them without the correct identification. And that's actually kind of a good lead-in. But in order to shoot something, you don't have to visually see it, right? I've seen questions of this as well. Like, you don't have to visually see something to actually be authorized to shoot it. Otherwise, you would always be shot at range. You'd never be able to get close to stuff with the missile range, right? So you have to have certain criteria, identification, shoot criteria, essentially. And so he made it even harder on that day. He said, okay, we're going to have to require basically a visual ID, essentially. You're going to have to see these guys. So he made it even harder, ended up getting into, I was lucky, actually, just happened to be looking down, and I saw the Strikers below me, a good maybe 3 or 4 miles. They were down low. And so I was able to basically just go straight down. I looked down, I saw the glint off their wings, and was able to shoot the Strikers. And then we got in a merge with these MiG-29s. Interesting is, we ran out 4 MiG-29s out of gas. Like, they took off, we fought them. They ran out of gas. They took off another 2 ship. We fought those 2 ships. They ran out of gas. Then we flew all the way back to Italy. And we were quite low on gas because we'd been fighting, right? And they just landed at their little base. We flew like 1,000 miles back, or however far. And that's when we went up to 50,000 feet. And so D-Day's, he's like, just kept requesting higher, higher, higher. And I remember we got all the way up to 50,000 feet, and you can hear the oxygen system's kind of having a hard time, like processing, getting through. In the pressurization system, it's having a hard time just pressurizing the cockpit. And the air, it's dark. It's much darker. You look up, it's more black than blue almost. So it's getting up there. It's pretty cool. So 50,000 feet. I'm not mute again, am I? Jesus. Sorry, late for the stream. Thoughts on the supposed Mount Wilson shootdown the other day? Yeah, very interesting. So among all the things that going on this week, if you haven't seen, is Carl basically gets a call from Kelly. She lives there at Mount Wilson Ranch with Jeff and the owner. And so Kelly's out walking her dog, and she sees a large white object. She assumes as a large balloon, and she sees an F-18 fly towards it. And then the balloon, or whatever the object is, pops, is what she said, essentially popped. And later, it sounds like a C-130, some type of C-130 or cargo prop plane showed up. And that's all I've heard. So I've tried to get a hold of Carl. I believe he drove up there. So I was texting him, and I sent some questions, basically the basic questions that I would like Kelly to answer. If she could draw the engagement out, how sure is she that it's an F-18? So I haven't heard back. I guess I can check. Yeah. So last I heard from Carl is I'll see if I can get her to meet me in the saloon and go over it. So he drove up there. At 50, what's the temperature in the cockpit? Well, the temperature outside, it goes down every 1,000 feet. It goes down by 2 degrees. So if you go up 50,000 feet, it'll be 100 degrees less than it is at sea level. Sounds like a lot. It's usually like minus 60 up there or something. So yeah, that's about right. They do goated. User enough. I hope that's a good thing. Love the MiG story. That was an amazing fight. Thanks. It was so cool. Yeah. Killed him. I think electric planes is going to happen 100%. 100%. I mean, they're way more reliable. I would feel much safer flying in a twin engine little electric Cessna than I would in like piston plane. Ever been to Decimomanu? No, I haven't. We had an incident there when I was there, F-15Cs from Bitburg, a UAP incident. Okay, clerks, check it. Thank you. Carl's trying to reach you too. Okay. I should tell him come to the live stream. I do have a. All right, maybe I can get a hold of him. Okay, so I just sent a message to Carl. Maybe he can stop by and give us an update. I don't think they were carrying special fuel. They had the special, yeah, I don't know. I'm not an expert on the Blackbird, but I know it expanded up at that height. Yeah. You won't be flying back. Welcome, Shital. An electric wingsuit. That's pretty cool. Contractor with zipper access here. You should see the stuff on UVDS AISR LOL. I don't know what that stands for. What does that stand for, K912? Is that like secret DVIDs or something? How far above the atmosphere? All right, 50,000. It's still well within the atmosphere. I think you get, what's astronaut wings is above 60,000 feet, I think. So F-16 is greater than MiG-29. That is correct, Jason. MiG-29, yeah, I mean, yeah. I hope we could beat it. The missile, the MiG-29, it's a one-trick pony, you know, it's very short legs, you know, not a lot of gas, but it's maneuverable and it has a very good heat-seeking missile. So it's called the Archer A12. It's like their AIM-9X, and back in the day, it was better than ours. You know, it could shoot higher off-bore sight, so it could turn and do better angles. So it had a better missile, but MiG-29 has like no shoot downs. You know, it hasn't been proven. It has nothing. So it's a cool looking jet though. How did you get interested in UFOs? Felt the gimbal videos. That's it. David Fravor, essentially. Can't you answer my question? I would have Yoko, but I don't know. Sorry. I saw this one. I'm trying to get through, but I want to make sure I'm not muted again. I'm paranoid now. You're below the atmosphere of 50K, even 60K. Yeah, so the atmosphere goes up much higher, and it kind of, there's an interesting in-between zone. Hey, Nigel, welcome. Thank you, mate. A congressman said that they came down like swarm in 2 weeks. I haven't seen that. SR-71, amazing plane, right? F-22 is an amazing plane. I mean, all these jets are really amazing. Anti-gravity works with small, bright orange flame. That's all I know so far. Bright orange flame. Interested in becoming an astronaut. I applied to be an astronaut. You could, when they opened it up back in 2015, the reason I applied is I had all of the requirements met It was like 1,000 hours here, masters, bink, bink, bink. So I applied, and of course I knew Rajachari would win it, and I'm glad he did. And he is the leader of the ISS. He commanded the ISS. He was in my pilot training class, actually, Rajachari. We knew he'd be an astronaut. I mean, that's the guy you meet. I met him. He's a great guy too. Amazing guy. Okay, sorry, I did not see it. Thank you, Paradise. If you think they could be von Neumann probes, this is, you mean the basic UAPs? Yeah, I think that's probably the best. That's probably the best possibility, from what we understand. At least it's a high possibility, and it makes sense, right? Why would a advanced civilization risk interfering with us if they have no need? So why not just put detectors, check out, make sure we're doing okay? Or I hope not. I hope not a false flag or too real is scary. Hope not either. The whole false flag event, I guess. I don't fully understand it. Will you be in a merged podcast? I don't know. I'd have to be invited. I haven't seen any UAPs, so I don't know. Doesn't really make sense. I'm happy to have Ryan on. He was supposed to be on a few times, just fell through. That's right. At ground level, they poured fuel out. There's a video somewhere on YouTube that shows a Venezuelan Viper up high trying to chase a U-2. You should check it out. It's probably good luck. Any plans for cheap open source Sky 360 monitoring stations? Yeah, that is the whole plan. First is workable, so working system. And then the idea was for a $1,000 system at the base level. I know U-2 pilots get astronaut wings. I don't know the exact level. The B-21. Yeah, that's what we need. Another bomber. Okay. What is the thought on F-14 Tomcat? It's an old jet. I don't know. It was never a factor, it was just before my time. The Iranians had it. I thought it was interesting. It's very unmaneuverable. I mean, we would crush it in a fight. Carl here. Carl has an update. Let's see. Update. The U.S. government is an incompetent joke, has been for decades. Name the last war we won. You can't. Brits won World War II. We were irrelevant. I mean, we do win a lot. You got to enter wars that are worth it. F-22 is king. F-22 is king. Shoot down spy balloon first, then you have justification to shoot down UAPs to gather intel. It just seemed like an overreaction to me. It just seemed like how could this get through without us knowing about it, and then shoot everything down? Yeah, it is over the ocean. All I know is about the Aguadilla. I don't know about other ones. I haven't seen anything from Avi on the Ukrainian UFO sightings. When we asked Kurt Jaimongol, he asked if we would do an interview. And so we asked Boris if he would do an interview. And he said that he would when he has more information. It's from Robert Yo. Thanks for the super chat. Do you think it's a bad idea to have a fighter jet, reconnaissance, and stealth all in one jet? You mean like F-35? No, I mean, it sounds amazing. That's what I would do. Well, I guess why have it separately? I think it's a bad idea to have it separately. Yeah. Can a 32-inch Pico balloon get sucked into an F-16 engine and take out the engine? Definitely. I mean, it'll definitely hurt it. I don't know what plastic does. Yeah, for sure. A little tiny bird going in the engine can destroy it. see. What do you think about your country sabotaging? I mean, I don't think they did it. I mean, we do a lot of bad things, but I don't think that was it. Space at 60 miles. Thank you, Scott. See, there's a place online in Russia you can pay to go up in a MiG-29 to see the Earth's curvature. Well, how high did they say you have to go? I wonder. At 50,000 feet, I mean, you could see it. You can get pictures. On my last video, I showed a picture at 70,000 feet. I could see a slight curve for sure. YF-23 or go home. That thing was sweet. If you saw that thing, amazing aircraft. They still have it at the Wright Pat Air Museum. Amazing. Do you think a fighter jet could shoot down a Tic Tac? I would say no. Based on what I saw, no. What do you miss most about America? The convenience? This weather balloon story is the longest running of any BS since Roswell. In what sense? I mean, it's only been a week. It hasn't been so long. Thank you, Shadow. I love your support. I do appreciate it, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Smash the like button if you are enjoying it. Definitely helps. From K9. Awesome. Okay. SIPR is the classified DoD internet. Yep. We use that. Requires clearance and reason to access. So that's secret internet protocol. Within it is ACER. I haven't heard of this. Aerial Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Footage. MQ9 feeds are seeing interesting stuff. Cool. Yeah, that, you know, that the Mosul orb, right? That was an MC-12. So that's your manned kind of two prop airplanes. MQ-9 is going to be your higher, it's a Reaper, or yeah, Reaper. Quite interesting. We haven't seen any of those, you know. Air Force hasn't given us anything. And we got nothing from these balloon shoot downs either. The only reason we have this information is because they were transmitting it, you know, locally. And over the US, we could track it with flight radar. You know, we were just because we've been practicing. That's why I think it's great. Have you ever seen an octagonal craft before? Never. Do you think the visitors could be von Neumann probes? Okay, yeah, there we go. Definitely. So von Neumann probes, basically the argument, what he said is despite the Fermi paradox, right, that everything's so far away, it would take forever to get even to our closest system, right, closest star system. It would take so long that, you know, if there were alien out there, if there was alien life, they could never get here in time, right? It would take them forever just to get here, even if they found out that we existed. Well, if you look at just the size of the galaxy, and even at non-superluminal, so not faster, so slower than the speed of light, you could still populate the whole galaxy, I think, within like 50 revolutions, whatever it is. So basically, you can populate the whole galaxy. You don't need to go faster than the speed of light. So we could easily have you. So you say that you believe that we can't travel faster than the speed of light. First, I want to say this argument is ridiculous. Okay, I used to have the same belief, but thinking that we know that you can't travel faster than the speed of light is just ridiculous to me. Okay, saying that we haven't proven that you can travel faster than the speed of light is one thing, but saying that you can't travel faster than the speed of light, I think, is another thing. So, despite that, say we already know everything. You can't travel faster than the speed of light. Well, the thing is, you don't need to, because von Neumann probes, right? If you had these self-replicating probes, then they could go less than the speed of light and still quickly, millions of years, but still relatively quickly, concerning the age of the universe, populate the whole galaxy. So we should expect some sort of presence here if there's any sort of other alien life. Oxygen content at 50,000 feet. Very low. Curious now. I have to look this up. 50,000 feet. Okay. It says going up to go up to 50,000 feet, and the air pressure is only 83 millimeters of mercury. So even breathing 100% oxygen, you're only getting 50% of the oxygen you get at sea level. Is there oxygen at 60,000 feet? Let's see this. Even with this positive pressure breathing level, oxygen saturation will be about 60%. Yeah, so before the U-2 pilots go and fly, they actually have to pedal, right? They have to breathe on just straight oxygen to get their blood levels up. This level is very marginal. Yeah, so that's all I can tell is if you're on 100% oxygen, you're only getting 50% you would need. I don't know. At 18,000 feet, there's half the air. That's basically all I know at this point. Have you tried? I've talked to him. I've interviewed him off the record, and he was going to interview. He was going to come on the show in January, and he had to postpone. And we just had a lot of people postponing. This is extremely optimistic, but could these balloon incidents being reported was an opportunity to bring the UFO UAP into the public discussion on a serious level? Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's exactly what I feel. And let's go to why this would be a good thing. Like, this goes back to Chris Mellon. Let me share this here before I forget. So Chris Mellon, back to his paper, this amazing paper, his statement to the press. You can go to christophermellon.net. So what he says is, this is arguably the biggest story mainstream news organizations have ever failed to cover. Among other things, this fully bipartisan legislation. So this is what he argues. Basically 5 things, I think, here that he thinks are fully bipartisan. So what does this do, basically? Provides greatly enhanced authority. This is the new bill, right? He's talking about the new NDA 2023. Provides greatly enhanced authorities and resources for the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, which now reports directly to the leaders of the intelligence community. And what he says is now they get the organization's unused name intended to clarify that they get land, air, undersea, and space. So that's what he's trying to get, the undersea and space actually looked at. So the new law also mandates a review of all intelligence documents from 1945 to the present about UAP. It requires DoD, DHS, and IC to identify any non-disclosure agreements, so related to UAP, right? The new law directs the Aero Office to develop a UAP science plan, right? So actually leverage our intelligence. And then what he says on this last one, probably the most important, I think, provides a secure process for anyone who has signed an official U.S. government secrecy agreement related to UAP to come forward and reveal that information to Aero and to Congress, regardless of the level of classification, without fear of retribution. This provision is intended to determine the veracity of long-standing allegations indicating that the U.S. government has recovered extraterrestrial technology and perhaps even extraterrestrial beings. So that was the law. And I think right now, yeah, it's a great time. Like I said earlier, I know, whatever, I don't know him, but a 3-star general hadn't even heard of UAPs. And so I think they've been just not looking in the Air Force, just pretending it doesn't exist and hoping it goes away. And you know what, it didn't. And it bit them in the ass, basically, is what has happened. And I think we have a great chance here. And basically, this is kind of a great final statement here. This was from Reagan said this in front of the General Assembly, UN General Assembly. And this, Chris Mellon put it at the end of his paper here. So I'll read through this. Cannot swords be turned to plowshares? Can we and all nations not live in peace? In our obsession with antagonisms of the moment, we often forget how much unites all the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bond. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us? What could be more alien to the universal aspirations of our peoples than war and the threat of war? So, great speech. I mean, I don't think he did the opposite. Didn't he start Star Wars and all that stuff? And then from Chris Mellon, this final paragraph, this may prove to be a Sputnik moment for America. Sputnik led to the space race, and ultimately our landing on the moon. It also eventually led to cooperation in space among the world's leading powers. Accelerating our efforts to uncover the true nature of UAP is long overdue, and once again, it has the prospect to lead to breakthroughs that benefit mankind. So that's what I think. This is just a great way to look at it. Is accelerating our efforts to uncover the true nature of UAP. I mean, why not? You know, we're using all of this money, all these funds to build all these weapon systems, right? And yes, it does keep technical knowledge inside the countries, but why can't we do the same thing, but focus on, you know, learning about our environment, learning about UAPs, you know, taking it seriously, maybe considering collaborating with other countries on it. Earth isn't flat, it's half-eaten apple shaped without the water. I just retired from the military, so I guess I say retire, but it's I guess I should say pension. I work more. Yeah, but when I want, right? So I work on the weekends, but when I want, etc. 14 Compcat. Glad you guys are enjoying it. Thanks for being here, everybody. Going through, I'm feeling pretty good. I think I could go another maybe like 20 minutes trying to get through all your questions. I just want to answer them. There's just so much content. Tic Tac UFOs are real, as I've accidentally filmed them here in the UK. Okay, accidentally. Awesome. Thanks, Jordan. Aloha to Hawaii. Way. Oh, geez. Is it weird plants have any atmosphere at all due to the gravity and cohesive air molecules? Yeah, it does seem weird. Us from the future. I don't think it was a party balloon. I think it was better. I think it was that Hobby Lobby balloon. Have you seen Senator Blumenthal's recent comment about informing the American public about the recent events? The American public is ready, they can handle it. No, I haven't seen that. That's pretty awesome. Who says we were here first? I think there's a lot we don't know. I tagged you on a tweet recently with video compilation of UAPs flying into volcanoes. Would be good if you could investigate them. I've seen a few of those videos. Yeah, I don't know how. We just need to set up Sky 360 system. I don't know. It seems like the best way to get through it is just to set up as many Sky 360 systems as we can and get multiple captures. Because we have, even like Carl, when he's talking about the balloon, that Kelly saw this balloon get shot down, but there's no video evidence, and if we can't find any other witnesses, it comes down to just one witness. Who knows? Is there any news on the Alaska UAP UFO that was shot down? I heard they stopped looking. What I saw is they stopped looking for it. So it went down over the sea ice. That was up here. I don't know why we got so many clouds. Yeah, but this right now, this is all going to be ice. And so what I heard is it shot down somewhere here on this ice, on the sea ice, and they were looking for it for a couple days. And as of Wednesday, they had stopped looking for it. Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't see your question. Try and post again here, and I'll. Oh, he did. Yeah, he had to cancel that day. He had to postpone. Had a few postponements. I think it's just been busy. Let's see. Not for the next few days. You can send to the email, chris.lato16@gmail. I just found that manufacturer. Did you see it? Let me hear. So Scientific Balloon Solutions, they make, this is a cylindrical object balloon, super pressure balloon, and it can go, basically at 40,000 feet. It's from Robert Yo. Thank you for the super chat again, man. I've worked with F-35Bs, and it seems like a fighter jet with reconnaissance and stealth capabilities would hinder a dogfight with other jets. Yeah, I guess, but dogfights kind of going away. Like F-22 is going to kill you. If you see the F-22, they messed up. Like if they dogfight, it's kind of the worst case scenario. And when you dogfight, you're anchored. You're turning. You're slow. You have to slow down because in order to turn, you're gonna have to slow down. So having that surveillance case, they know everything. They know where everything is, and no one can see them. So you can just sneak up right behind the guy. I wonder if the Pentagon will ever release shapes and characteristics. They did. They released shapes on this, right? They were releasing shapes almost because we just heard it on the radio. What about that war, Iraq? But then we were still there for years. I mean, I'm not saying war is the answer, right? Yeah, they use telescopes 100 miles apart, and they think it was a satellite for the high simultaneous capture. Let's see. Hi, Chris. Just before I clicked on this, saw a vid titled AI piloted F-16 dogfight. Yeah, I actually know the pilot. He's a friend of mine who ran, or at least part of that. Yeah, what they did is they did a simulator. It was an AI simulator versus a human in a dogfight, and who could win. And the simulator, the AI won, which I don't think was really fair, because a lot of dogfighting is, can you see the other person? And I feel like the AI would have just always known where they were. Why didn't we hear the sonic boom from the F-22 flying at Mach 1.3? That's a good question. Actually, the sonic boom has a lot to do with the wind. So if I had to guess, I'd say the wind was probably blowing offshore that day. That's why you guys didn't hear it. Also further away, they're up really high, man, 50,000 feet. But there should have been a boom. I bet it was just further away. You weren't underneath it. No. Is there a Mosul or video? I mean, I know there's a video, but has it been released? I haven't seen it. What's up, Alien Oddity Coins? Glad you could make it as well. It's almost midnight here, and we're waking up. We're family spring break tomorrow. Learned so much. What do you think the military's learned? I think they've learned a lot. First thing they're going to do, which I think is great, is they're going to start not transmitting in the clear. I think you'll see that quite quickly. Let's see, I mean, we analyzed it so fast. We were watching, I mean, three YouTubers had, I think we had 10 or 12 videos out already by Tuesday. That's insane. I mean, think of that. I mean, if you directed the military to do that, they probably couldn't do it. That's a question. Yeah. Why do you ever move to a different country, right? You think the future is brighter there for you and your family. It's safer. From Rafael, do you think there's a connection between psychedelic experiences and extraterrestrials? I don't know. I haven't seen any direct links. I know that there seems to be something related, right? Could all of these extraterrestrial events be somehow some weird psychological link, and then you could be we just haven't studied psychedelics enough. You know, they've been Schedule 1 dangerous products my whole life, and so we couldn't study them. So I think that'll change pretty drastically. You know, it'll change quick. I've seen that there is quite good psilocybin treatments for like smoking, if you want to quit smoking. Or I've talked to people here actually who have done psychological mushroom treatments that actually really help them deal with PTSD issues. So I think we'll find as we learn more about psychedelics, you know, maybe we'll see some sort of connection, but I don't see any direct connection, at least that I've come across. I mean, I would assume this is probably balloons. Do you expect a lot of UAP UFO phenomena will be explained with the covered objects? I don't think so. I mean, I think a lot of people, I'm surely have seen balloons and think that they are, you know, unidentified flying objects, obviously. But will it explain it? No, I think the best thing we could hope for here is what Chris Mellon said, is this is an opportunity finally to realize that UAP are something that it's worth investigating, right? If anything, just to learn more about things flying around. Okay, thank you, JJ. Sorry about that, mate. I saw a light curving towards Earth and then it curved back to space. How? A light. I don't know. You'd have to have more information. You can send an email, chris.lato16. Try and describe it more. I don't know. Okay, sorry. Just paranoid now. I'll be muted again randomly. WTF is SIPR. It stands for Secret Internet Protocol. It's the secret internet that the US military uses. So the problem is, okay, here's a major problem. If you want to talk secret stuff digitally, you have to use the SIPRnet, right? Anything that touches the SIPRnet or any computer that is connected to the SIPRnet, anything that touches it becomes secret. So that's where we run into all these classification issues. Because what happens is, just to keep everything easy together and safe, we keep everything on the SIPR net, right? You use the SIPR net, you keep it in the vault in the secret areas. So what does that mean then? Everything gets classified. And that's how we end up with everything classified, because everything comes off that computer. Everything that touches that computer is secret automatically. And so it would take someone going in and saying, wait a minute, this is actually not secret. This is unclassified, right? But the problem is no one wants to say that. They don't want to say it. So they don't. Where's the benefit? There's no benefit to them saying, yeah, well, I should release this. As soon as they release the wrong thing, it comes back onto them. Like, they've given away stuff. They've lost it. And you hear all these security people just say, I'm not going to jail, you know. Dead fish. Thanks for your investigation. I've taken a lot of psychedelics, but I don't think it matters. Have they released a 4-second video of the orb? I don't think so. I would love it. Well, welcome, Marcus. Canon just bought 20 F-22s. Wow, interesting. Delivery 2026. It's an amazing jet. All right, guys. I think I have just a few more minutes. Starting to get fatigued. Okay, you've seen the videos. This is from K912, man. I hope you're legit. I've seen them. Let me tell you, the stuff MQ9s have seen make the Tic Tac footage look pathetic. Are you serious? Man, that would be just unbelievable. But how could that be true, right? How could that be true? And yet they don't take it seriously. Are they secretly taking it seriously and then just really pretending like they're not? Or is this tic tac footage just getting filtered out? You know, is it like getting filtered out by the machine so that the leaders never actually know what's going on? It gets like stymied. That's interesting. How do we verify K912? I mean, what should we do then? Like, if you're legit, what would you do? If you were me, what would you do if you were me? Do you think this is a false flag? I guess I don't really know what that is. I don't think they set it up. I think it was just what it looks like. That surveillance balloon went all the way across. They've been blowing off UAPs, lowering their filters on their radars, and all of a sudden they're like, "Oh shit! Now there's tons of things." I wish. Biden signed bill for UAP, free to open them up. Timing is a plan. Yeah, that's the point. Von Neumann, the probes, they replicate themselves, and then those probes go to the next planet. So after whatever it is, say 100 million years, even at normal speeds, you don't need to go light speeds, like whatever 0.6 the speed of light or half the speed of light or something. There it is, 100 million years. Yeah, so 100 million years around thinks it will populate the galaxy. Exactly. If there's one, there's likely hundreds. I mean, that's the thing. If there's one, then there's many. So the whole Fermi paradox. Why don't we see anything? It's very strange, right? Why don't we see anything? There's trillions and trillions of planets. Right? There's trillions of stars, much less trillions of planets. So unless we're the only life in town, which to me seems really, really optimistic, then if we're the only life in town, which to me seems impossible, then that would mean that we are surrounded by life, and it's that knowledge is kept from us for whatever reason. The system is designed that way. We can't see signals because think about it. If sending a signal out into space was the equivalent of highlighting your position, and then any alien out there can just come eat your civilization, destroy you, right? Then wouldn't there could be an evolutionary trick to not sending out signals, meaning that imagine around our solar system there is a small shield. Basically you have some sort of electromagnetic field around the solar system, and it just keeps out some of these signals. Right? Just one random idea. But yeah, if there's one, then there's many. Okay, is the monolith? So 2001, is that a von Neumann probe? That makes sense. Yeah, it looks like that, right? The orbs seem like some sort of power supply for the Phoenix lights. I've seen kind of the opposite, Jay. I think this time they've actually been saying, well, no, I haven't been watching it that much, but the joking about aliens, they start to do it, but now I hear when they're joking, it's kind of like at the end, they're like, ha ha ha. like maybe it's correct. I don't know. The joking seems to have changed. Like the tone of it seems to have changed. No, I saw we talked about that earlier. I'll have to look that up. Senator Blumenthal's recent comment, the American public is ready, they can handle it. They can probably sort of handle it. How's everybody's Friday night? Your thoughts on simulation theory? I mean, it seems like if we're in it, being in a simulation would sure explain a lot of things, right? And that would explain just not finding anyone else. If you imagine you're in a simulation and they just haven't populated the rest of the server. Yeah, exactly. So the Earth is billions, you know, it takes 100 million years to populate the galaxy, but the galaxy is billions of years old. So yeah, exactly. Come to the society, man. Come to UAP Society Discord. That'd be great. Okay, great. Normal oxygen in the atmosphere is 20%. Okay. Hypoxia is an issue. It's actually the percentage of the air. Even up at higher altitude, you can breathe in as much air as you want, but the oxygen does not have a high enough percentage to actually flow into your lungs. Okay, hey Chris, love the show, mate. Just a quick share. There's a story of a RAF F-111C being struck by a pelican. It was air ingested, did a lot of damage. Yeah, they destroy planes all the time. Birds are no joke. I haven't, you know, Bigfoot's like it's a foot too far for me, but I guess I should start looking into it. It seems like there's some issues. All right. Hopefully I got anyone have any questions I haven't answered? Any super chats I missed? Sorry, guys. It's hard to locate wreckage. It's harder than you think. I mean, the airspace is big, guys. You look out there, man. It's a big sky. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of area out there to just randomly find stuff. You know, the fact they just even found these, you know, imagine trying to find a little tiny balloon. You know, we have a balloon out there. It's a threat. Track it down. I mean, it's pretty good military practice, actually. Do I trust all these ex-CIA people in the field? I don't know, you know, but then I'm like, well, I was ex-Air Force. So are they saying the same thing about me? Probably. But CIA, yeah. There's two distinct elements of the CIA, though. There's your operations side and there's your analyst side. And so I went there. The analyst side, I've met a bunch of those guys. They seem like, yeah, classic American researcher, you know, patriots. It's a distraction. I don't think they did it on purpose. Yeah, we fly above the poles all the time. I mean, I haven't personally done it, but I've flown up near the pole. Dead fish cheese spread are common sightings around wreck formations. Yep, non-disclosure agreement is NDA. So that's what hopefully this law that Chris Mellon was talking about removes that. So let's say you've signed something with the government that says I will never talk about this UFO event ever. So what happens as you go on with your life? You're never told that you can talk about it again. So you've signed this document, but now that says that these NDAs are torn up. Yeah, it's a good thing now. More people are looking up. One monkey wrench thrown in is Starlink will create most reports from citizens not understanding how Starlink sats look. Yeah, which it's okay. Like we got safety reports. It's okay to get safety reports, right? What happens is you need to get safety reports. I was a safety officer in the Air Force, and you want to catch before there's an accident. You want to catch issues, right? High threats, factors to safety before it becomes an accident. So you have to collect data on this stuff. So you need pilots to talk about, oh, this was kind of dangerous. In the Air Force, we actually instituted a zero retribution policy. So even if you messed up, as long as it wasn't criminal, you would get protection. So you could not be legally held liable, actually, as long as it wasn't criminal, etc. So I'm kind of worried that these pilots have come out and said, "Hey, I see these UFOs," and then it turns out to be Starlink, and they get a lot of heat in the press. It's not necessarily. It's a good thing that they're speaking out, and if we find out they're Starlink, that's also a good thing, right? We crossed another thing off the list. And personally, I think it's good that our pilots are looking outside more. I think it's good that people are looking out when they go outside, they look up more. I think it's good that the Air Force is looking around the borders more, figuring out what's in the environment, and that they're actually taking these UAPs seriously. I don't see anything up there. I'm sorry, mate. I appreciate it. So write a question now. I'll try and see it. Maybe time travel of free energy to exist. I think free energy already exists. It hits us from the sky every day. I don't think time travel. I think we're gonna find that you can't time travel. That's my own guess. Okay, think of it like a procedure turn, and so IMC is an instrument flying up narrow vector. That would be to shoot a balloon. I'm glad they're talking about UAPs. I mean, we can't be upset about that. I don't know, man. Governments, they're up for their own. What is Europe doing about this? I think nothing. I think nothing. You know, I went to that conference, EU space conference 2 weeks ago, and I asked the directors of industry, the ESA director of industry, I asked an ESA astronaut and the NASA director in Europe, what's going on? You know, is anyone in Europe studying this? And they said, they looked at me like I was crazy. Yeah, they're super quiet. No one wants to say anything. I haven't seen Jack alien. Maybe I just wasn't looking outside. Yeah, I'm getting these questions again. That's weird stuff. Yeah, I answered that earlier. Satellites don't curve. That's right. So this is the biggest thing. Okay, I get a lot of videos from people saying I saw an orb, which is awesome. But a lot of these videos are just satellites. Okay, so if you see a light, and even though you think it looks all right, sorry about that, guys. I'll get a new mic. I need a new mic anyway. All right, here we go. I hope this is it. From Boy Cochina. Balloon is hypersonic glide vehicle delivery. Takes only seconds to impact and high angle allows stealth detection. Muted again. Thanks. Hypersonic glide vehicle delivery. So like you float the balloon over towards the target and then you drop it. That's the idea. It'd have to be really high. They'll see them coming. I think they'll see it coming. All right, let's see. Just a couple more questions, and then I got to jet, guys. This microphone thing will kill. Let's see. I flew a lot of them. I didn't fly the Block 50, unfortunately. That's like the fancy one. You really want to fly with all the. It's got a bigger engine, but I didn't get to. I flew Block 25, Block 30, Block 40, Block 42. Angry Drunken German, I'm just about to leave. If you have any questions, throw them in. You had to step away. I started in 2001 and finished in 2019. Rods from God. I think you need to go higher than just a balloon. I don't think a balloon is going to get you to God level. I don't, maybe. But, you know, balloons are really limited on weight. You know, we had a giant balloon and we were limited to, I think, 3 kilograms. Giant balloon. Up at altitude, it was like 36 feet across. Hey, Alan. Thank you. Thanks, Alan. Go look at World News Report channel. They really did shoot down Hobby Lobby balloons. Yeah, I mean, they had it tracked. Awesome. Thank you. I do sometimes. I see the T6. There's a T6 trainer. It's like a jet prop. That I would love to fly that thing again. That'd be sweet. The entire satellite curve explanation. Okay, sorry about that. I would say I get a lot of videos from viewers, which is great about UAPs. But I will say it would just save a lot of time because most of them are satellites, to be honest. So if you just see if you see a light moving across whatever color it is, at something like this speed across the sky, it's probably a satellite. Okay, so what if it does this? Okay, it's not a satellite. Yeah, cheers. Welcome to Mexico. What do I think about Russian satellites blowing up in orbit? I haven't heard about it. They probably don't want it to happen. The entire satellite. Sorry about that. Yeah, I don't know. It's just I haven't had other issues with this microphone muting. That would be great. That's what I'm thinking. I mean, honestly, guys, this does help. They do listen to the public. They do listen to people. This is from Boy Chat. Okay, I see it here. Thanks for the super chat, man. They tested dropping 3 nuke-capable glide vehicles from the same balloon in 2018 off Hainan Island. Really? Who's they? I haven't heard of that. 3 nuke-capable glide vehicles. This must be the Chinese, I'm guessing. From a balloon. I mean, yeah, why? I guess you could just have them up there all the time, but they're so uncontrollable. I guess I'd have to see them actually control a balloon. Like, can you control a balloon? I don't buy it that that you can just make it go up and down and get to wherever you want. That was one idea, right? That the Chinese surveillance balloon, it had propellers and it could change the buoyancy, right? So that's the thing, right? If you have a balloon and you have a little motor on there, and you can increase the pressure inside the balloon somehow because you have extra gas. Now you can somehow change the altitude, and so you could catch the jet stream. But I don't know. I don't see how you could possibly. I don't know. It'd be breakthrough technology I haven't heard of. Thank you, Hamilton. I appreciate it, guys. Don't overlook my super chats. I won't ever. I get a list later. I don't know why I didn't see. It's not popping up there. Sorry about that. I'll upload my video. Great. That would be sweet. And I'll go to. There's video of it. Okay. I want to check that out. I would definitely like to pilot a UAP. Why have they just stopped shooting them down? Probably because it was dumb. Sorry. Fuck. Did it again. Sorry, I just cussed. All right, guys. Falling apart over here. Thank you so much for being here. Hope you guys enjoyed this longer chat. I was getting so many questions, so much moving so fast, and I'll be out of pocket, like I said, the next 5 days. Hopefully I can get a video out for you guys on Friday or have something exciting for you. Thanks again for being here, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a great rest of your weekend. And if you're watching this later, please write in the comments, and I try and read all of the comments. Please smash the like button. It does help. And then subscribe. So I will keep updates going on this as best I can. And then join Patreon so you can ask background questions really anytime on patreon.com. And you get early access ad-free to all the YouTube videos. It's only $5 a month. And I appreciate it. So couldn't do it without the support of all you guys, everyone really watching. So thank you so much. Thank you for taking part in it. It really does make a difference if you guys call your congressman. It makes a difference, or write them. I would say try and take a positive look at this. Use it as a chance to actually further our investigation of UAPs. That's what it should be, not a witch hunt trying to find why were they out there shooting stuff down. I think the Air Force did what it was told. I think it was kind of aggressive, but they did it safely. It sounded like a well-run operation. So I think of it as a positive take, and I'll just finish with looking at, oh, it's not there. Christopher Mellon's statement. Like he said, he says, this may prove to be Sputnik moment for America. Sputnik led to the space race and ultimately our landing on the moon. Accelerating our efforts to uncover the true nature of UAP is long overdue, and once again, it has the prospect to lead to breakthroughs that benefit mankind. So I think that's so true, and I don't know. I'm optimistic. I'm glad to see so much. I'm glad to see UAPs in the news. Glad to see the Air Force, out there doing well, I believe. And yeah, thanks to you all. Have a great rest of your weekend. See you.